Thank you for downloading this podcast from the British Theatre Guide. For more information about British Theatre Guide, please visit britishtheatreguide.info.
Steve Orme here, the British Theatre Guide's Midlands editor. I'm at Birmingham REP to talk to the new team in charge of the theatre. There's a new artistic director, Sean Foley. He's known as an actor and director as well as a writer. You may know him as one of the authors of The Play What I Wrote, the celebration of the British comedy act Morecambe and Wise. The REP's also got a deputy artistic director, Amit Sharma, and a new executive director, Rachael Thomas. First, Sean Foley. He's one of the few people to have received nominations for an Olivier Award as an actor, writer and director. So why did he want to be in charge of his own building?
I think I'm definitely the only artistic director in the UK that's got those. And I guess the answer to that is contained within that question, because if you do, I've mainly been doing directing actually over the last sort of 7 or 8 years, and mainly in, again, I think unusually for UK artistic directors, mainly in the commercial sector. But I wanted to get back to some performing, and I always want to write. And I think if you've got a theatre, in fact 3 theatres, it increases your chances of being able to do all those things, I think.
So what was your reaction when you were told that you got the job?
I flew to the United States. This is not true. This is not a joke. I was actually sitting in my seat. I flew back for an interview, and I was just about to fly back. I was working in the United States at the time, so I got rung up and told that I was going to be appointed, and literally had to put my phone down. The air steward came along and asked me to put my phone down, and then we took off. That's it. That's how and then I had a drink.
So were you literally flying?
Yes, literally flying.
Was the fact that the rep has got 3 spaces, was that one of the reasons why you wanted the job?
Yes, I think it was, and I think it was also because I really felt, and still do feel, that Birmingham is an incredible city, that the REP is an incredible theatre with an incredible history, and that it's got an amazing amount of potential. I mean, I think the city of Birmingham does sort of unrealised potential. Maybe it's going to come into its own. That's my feeling anyway. And, you know, I've got roots in the city. My mum was a Brummie. I've got half my family from that side of my mum is here. My dad was an Irish immigrant. There's a big Irish, Birmingham Irish population as well. So I felt comfortable with the city, and I also felt that it's going to have its moment, and I really wanted to be part of that. And I knew Birmingham REP had this amazing history in UK theatre industry, and I also felt that the REP had an amazing amount of potential as well. So, it's very exciting to be here.
Maybe exciting, but there must be several challenges that you'll be looking to fulfil.
Yes, any big job like this has got amazing challenges in it. I think that the biggest challenge, I think anyway, for theatre is to not be seen as a sort of middle-class enclave, as a sort of cultural, culturally it's just for the middle class, and I've always made shows that I really truly believe that anyone can come and see and enjoy and have a great night out, and that's how I approach making any of my work, and that's how I want the REP to be for the people of Birmingham and the wider world as well, is that, and we're all agreed, all of us who've taken up posts at the same time, is that's everyone is very, very passionate about making shows that we feel that anyone can come along to and enjoy.
Birmingham is a very diverse city. Do you feel that you can put something on that will appeal to all those different communities?
Well, that is the challenge, and that is Birmingham REP actually is UK industry leader already in diversity and representation, which very proudly held title, as it were, at the moment, and that is going to be a huge part of our work, and an exciting part of our work as well, because it should be tremendously exciting to find develop, produce and stage theatre pieces shows that you feel like that everybody can be attracted to, that appeals to what is common between us all and not what separates us.
You know the building quite well. I remember seeing you playing Sigmund Freud in Hysteria, Terry Johnson's play in 2007. And what do you remember about that, if anything?
If anything, I don't remember the opening speech, if that's what you're asking me. I remember having a great time at the theatre, in this theatre, and thinking it was a wonderful theatre. But I also remember that there weren't enough people coming to see the show. Whether that was just because of me, I don't know. But I do remember that we struggled for audiences in what I think is a contemporary classic, actually, Terry Johnson's play Hysteria, and also a very funny play. So you would think, if you're doing a comedy that's relatively well known, you could attract an audience. So sort of brings us back to some of the things you were asking before, is, it is also our job to put on shows that fill the theatre. A full theatre is a happy theatre, and you want to have somewhere that people feel like, this is an exciting place to come.
You also adapted Eugene Ionescu's Amadei with Josie Lawrence and Trevor Fox. That was in the studio a couple of years ago. Did you feel the same about that? Did you feel there weren't enough people coming to see that play?
I'm not qualified to say that, because the night I came, it was absolutely full. It was great. So I don't know how the rest of the run went, but that was fantastic. And it did make me really... That experience also, when I was asked to apply for this job now, made me feel that the studios, it's currently called the New Theatre that we show with the library, is also a tremendous opportunity for the REP, because we want to turn it into, the foremost theatre in Britain for new plays and contemporary classics. And I think it's a tremendous opportunity, amongst many other tremendous opportunities at the REP, to use that theatre to put on incredibly exciting new plays.
Will you be doing any acting while you're here?
I'm acting now. What?
Actually on stage?
No, I very much hope to do that, yeah. It's one of the reasons I came here.
And directing?
Yes, I'll be directing something next year.
Who will be directing?
And hopefully I'll be writing something as well. You missed that bit out.
Who will be directing the other shows that you're not doing?
Oh, a real... We haven't settled on all of that yet, but a real mixture of people. I can tell you that, in the initial programme that we've got running from January, which is sort of an interim programme really before my first sort of real season will be autumn next year. But, we've got international theatre from Ireland with all-women creative team. We've stolen something from the RSC, but don't tell them. And that will be directed by Iqbal Khan. It's a version of Tartuffe. Are we allowed to say that? Yeah. The version of Tartuffe they had playing there about 18 months ago, which is in a way coming home to Birmingham, because it's set in Birmingham. So, as I say, don't tell the RSC, but we've stolen that off them. And many other amazing new directors and very well-known directors and writers and actors too. I mean, we're going to entice incredibly well-known people to come and work here.
You've been here only a short period of time.
Yes.
Because you've got commitments elsewhere.
Yes.
So can you just explain what those are?
I can, yes. So when I was offered the job, I had to tell the board that actually I'd already signed contracts for several freelance directing gigs, one of which I'm doing at the moment, and I am directing the theatrical adaptation of the Ealing comedy The Man in the White Suit, with Stephen Mangan and Cara Toynton and Sue Johnson, plus lots of other people, brilliant people in the cast as well. So I'm in the middle of doing that, and that will be at the Bath Theatre Royal throughout September, and then at the Wyndham's Theatre in London's glittering West End in October.
You've got a bit of a reputation for comedy.
I do, yeah.
Presumably that will be a big part of the programme here.
Well, I think it will be. Certainly, I will want to always want to direct comedies and even be in them. So I will be directing comedies here. Yes, is the answer to that. I love comedies, and I think also general audiences love comedies. General audiences love musicals. General audiences, of course, love dramas too. And we will have a very mixed programme, but certainly for sure in terms of the skills within the building, we'll be putting on some great comedies, yes.
And you've actually got an assistant artistic director working with you. Deputy artistic director. How will you divvy up the work?
That's a very, very good question. We're still working out how to do that. But in general, maybe actually Amit should answer that. We're working out how to do it. It's relatively simple in a way, because when you're directing a show, you are leading on that creative project, and that's your thing. I don't, even all the many people who will be employed by Birmingham REP in the coming years while we're here, I would never really interfere with the director's work. That's for them to decide what goes on. If they want any help or advice, certainly offer it. But I would never get involved in a director's work, or even writers are slightly different, because developing a play is a much longer process that you do get involved in as an artistic director. But I think in terms of our own personal work, I know I'm looking forward to enjoying Amit's work as a director here, and in terms of us creating a programme together, we're in the very early stages of being able to do that, but it's a fantastically enjoyable process already.
In a couple of years, when you look back on your tenure, what will you regard as success at the REP?
Full theatres. That's pretty much it, really. Get it full. That it's an exciting place to come for the people of Birmingham, and that it is nationally and internationally recognised as a great theatre.
Amit, you were with Grey Eye Theatre Company for 6 years, I think it was. Why did you leave there, and why did you want to come to Birmingham REP?
Yeah, I mean, I was working as associate at Grey Eye for 6 years, but I've had a long association with the company. In fact, it was the company that actually got me into theatre. I applied on their actor training course, and last century, as I keep saying, and I've never kind of really looked back. And so, as a performer working with them, I worked across the industry, and I always kind of came back to work with the company. And as associate, I spent 2 years at the Royal Exchange in Manchester as part of the Changemakers programme. And it felt like an opportunity to work at the Birmingham REP and work in this building with, as I'm learning, such fantastic people, amazing people. Felt like another opportunity, really. And it's a completely different beast, actually. Because the company Grey Eye does producing work, and here it's a building. So, it's not just looking at the programming side of things. It's actually really thinking about what this theatre means to people of Birmingham, the community of Birmingham. And so it's a completely different job in many ways to Grey Eye. So I've learned a huge amount from the company. There are principles that won't ever leave, and it's a fantastic opportunity to apply a huge amount of learning that I had at Grey Eye to Brum. Looking forward to it.
Sean says he wants to continue acting. Will you be treading the boards at all?
I don't know, actually. I mean, there's always. I don't think the acting bug ever kind of leaves you, but it depends on who the role is, and if I have the opportunity to work with such an esteemed director like Sean, then who knows. But I think there are so many other priorities, it feels like, and if the opportunity comes along, great. But if it doesn't, I won't be crying in my pillow.
Yes, so what would you really like to do here at the REP then?
I think there's lots of things. One obviously is the art and is the work and is directing, but also making this building really sing to the community, and making not only audiences but artists who live in Birmingham, who have had long association with the REP or one that's new, to feel like it's their theatre, to feel like it's their space, and for this building to really kind of go to anyone and everyone that this is a really vibrant place where incredible work is happening, and this is the place to kind of be. And hopefully it's a place for platforming the local artists for the work that we do with schools in and around Birmingham as well. It's for that aspiration to kind of go, wow, I've seen a show here, and when I'm older, I want to write, or I want to direct, or I want to act on the stage. So there's the personal ambition of making good quality work for our audiences, but there's also the ambition, again, a personal one, to make sure that this building is really communicating and has that commitment to its communities. Lots of comms there, isn't there? Commitment, communities. Yeah, my God, yeah.
Yeah, you've got quite a lot of experience, I think, of creating opportunities for artists, so presumably you'll be wanting to do that here.
Yeah, and you know what? To my shame, really, arriving here and just seeing already what the rep has to offer, it was kind of a really lovely surprise, because there's stuff, we've got opportunities for writers, for theatre makers, for directors. So much is already in place, and I think the job that Sean, Rachael, me, and the rest of the team actually have got is to kind of go, how do we refine it so it really feels like a cog in a well-oiled kind of machine, really. So yeah, I mean, the offer out to our local artists isn't going to change, and is not going to reduce. Hopefully, the local artists will be banging on our doors and going, we want more, and quite rightly, because the quality of artists that are coming through Birmingham are making an impact on the national map is quite extraordinary, actually, and it's a real pleasure to hear people kind of speak about the rep as part of their journey, and we've really got to continue that and make sure that kind of keeps happening, and bringing those people away from Birmingham back to kind of go, this is your theatre, make a show here.
Rachael, you were Executive Director at Derby Theatre. You're now performing a similar role here. Why did you want to come to the rep?
I'd always wanted to work in producing theatre. So prior to Derby, I worked at Nottingham Playhouse as well. So I guess Birmingham is just a bigger version of those two theatres. It's a slightly different version in a bigger city with a different audience and a slightly different programme. So yeah, I think it really appealed as the second city as well. And I think, like Sean said, 3 different auditoria, so lots of opportunities for producing. But producing theatre is really close to my heart. I started in receiving theatre and very quickly worked out that I wanted to be in a building where the work was made. And Birmingham REP makes lots of work, so that was very appealing, as well as the city itself.
So it's a bigger challenge, would you say, than the jobs you've had before?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. It's a bigger team financially. It's a bigger turnover. More work goes out of the building, but I think lots of the principles and practices that sit behind those headlines are the same, actually. And I think in lots of ways, the work that we did at Derby and the work before that we did at Nottingham has been, I suppose, lots of similarities, actually. A big focus on learning and education work and young people, education, and I think all of those things I've brought with me. And it just felt like a very natural next step. But yes, albeit a bigger challenge with more noughts on the end. That's how I like to express it, more noughts on the end.
These are difficult times for theatres, though, with cutbacks and less funding being available. How does that equate to Birmingham REP? How are you going to go about getting more funding in here, if possible?
Yeah, I mean, the reps, it's maintained its Arts Council funding over the last 10, 15 years, which is no small feat in these times, actually, but it has been at standstill along with most of the other Arts Council funded organisations. So that brings its own set of challenges, because obviously the funding isn't growing at the same rate as the costs are growing. The City Council, I mean, this is well known. The City Council's funding is all but it's been cut back very savagely, really, over the past 10, 15 years, from over $1 million down to a couple of 100,000. And while that's still very welcome, obviously that does have an impact on the financial model. And I guess the REP, like most theatres, has had to adapt its financial model to a climate where there is less public funding available, which means that the work that we do that generates income, so the work on our stages, the secondary streams of income around that, the catering, the programmes, the bar, the education work that's paid for, all of that, we rely on that much more, and I think we have to take a slightly different approach to that than we might have done 15, 20 years ago. It just has to contribute more to the running of the organisation. I mean, what I would say that, the REP is a charity, and all the money that we generate goes back into the running of the charity. So it's all reinvested in the work that we do, whether that's on stages or out in schools and out in communities. But the financial model is slightly different to what it was 10, 15 years ago.
You'll be working with Sean and Amit to realise their artistic vision. Is that going to be difficult?
No, I don't think so. I think that we share a very similar set of values in terms of the artistic vision, and I think we share a very similar idea about what we need to do. The REP's got some great strengths, some great artistic strengths, and I think we need to build on those. And then there are things that we need to do slightly differently in order to continue to build the audience, and that in turn feeds the sort of business model, really. They're not distinct things. The two are very interrelated, but I think we have a very shared vision for the theatre.
And the new artistic team at the REP are expected to programme their first full season in autumn 2020.
You've been listening to a podcast from British Theatre Guide. For more information, please visit britishtheatreguide.info.